Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. What I want to talk to you about today is something called positive psychology. I'm an academic psychologist and member of the Royal Society of Medicine. And for the last 15 years, we've been studying people who are more happy, healthy, and successful than the average person. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. But first of all, what is positive psychology? Probably the easiest thing is to think of it as an academic or scientific version of self-help. Academic psychologists study people who have done particularly well in life and try to understand what it is that makes them so successful. But what is success? We define it as a life of meaningful achievement, making life better for ourselves and for those around us. What success is will depend on our own values. It's different for each of us. Basically, there are 5 principles that characterize successful people. And in today's talk, we'll look at each one in some detail, starting with taking responsibility. Successful people tend to be those who believe that they have control over how their life turns out. They don't believe in fate or luck. They take life by the scruff of the neck. They think, speak, and act in an empowering way. They're always asking how. How can I get this better? How can I have a good relationship? How can I get my dream job? They put their focus on what they can control instead of stressing and worrying about things outside of their control. They're always focusing on the things they can really affect. And they set goals. They set goals for what they want to achieve. They tend to start by thinking in the long term. Where would I want to be 20 years from now? If I was in my last few years and looking back, what would I wanted to have achieved? And then they make that into a goal, something really, really important to them. But sometimes goals will clash. For example, if you want to be incredibly wealthy, but you also want to spend your whole life as an academic, the two are not compatible, unfortunately. So you may have to decide what your priorities are and choose one thing over the other. That's where your values come into play. The single most important factor that emerged from this research was positivity. Those who were successful tended to be more positive, not living in a fantasy world where everything's great, but spotting and taking opportunities. They were optimistic. They believed that they could achieve their goals, and therefore they put the effort in. If you're pessimistic, I guess you probably wouldn't bother so much. They were grateful for the good things in their life. If something went well, they'd celebrate it. Their life was full of little celebrations on the little milestones on their way to their goals. They also had the characteristic of persevering, of determination. They weren't stubborn, though. They showed a degree of flexibility. And if things weren't going the way they wanted, they were prepared to try other things. So their approach was, let's take a particular course of action. Let's work really, really hard to get that right. But if it doesn't work, let's try something else. Let's not keep banging our head against a brick wall. So they had clear goals, but flexible ways of achieving those goals. They also knew their strengths, what they were loved, what they were passionate about, what they were good at. And the more time you spend doing things you love, doing things you're passionate about, the more likely you are to be successful. But it's important to understand that we can't do this alone. We have to connect with others. Nobody's really self-made. We need people in our life to help us, to teach us, to work with. And we need to show appreciation to those people. We need to give credit where credit is due and build strong, effective working and personal relationships. And above all, the rule that underpins all of this is the golden rule. Treat other people as you would treat them. Not only is that morally right, it's also the basis on which effective working and personal relationships are built. So in summary, there are these 5 principles. The more consistently and diligently we apply them, the greater the chance of success in living a happy, fulfilling life. Thank you very much.